When you think of places to buy video games, probably the first place that comes to mind if you live in the United States is, of course, GameStop. GameStop is pretty much synonymous with going to buy video games. It's the largest retailer in the United States. There's, of course, GameStop locations all throughout the world. GameStop is a very popular company that's been around for quite a while. But, of course, we've seen tons of changes within GameStop, and we've heard a lot of negative stories about what's going on the operating expenses side of things. They reported a $488 million operating loss in their past financial briefing, which we did a full video on, and that threw up a lot of red flags for people. Of course, there's been a lot of integration with other promotions that we'll talk about later in this video, but now it seems like GameStop is definitely on the trading block to be bought by another company. This is something that's been heavily rumored, but now we have information of two companies coming in and potentially buying GameStop, or they're jockeying for a position to pick up what GameStop is. So a lot of people are sort of sensationalizing this and saying, oh, it's the end of days for GameStop. GameStops are going to be going out of business, etc., etc. And I think that's a bit of misinformation when you look at the grand scheme of things and how this will probably play out. So what is exactly going on with GameStop? Who are these two companies involved, and what does this actually mean for the future of GameStop? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into this rabbit hole of GameStop potentially being sold.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So this information is coming to us via GameStop through Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal article is hidden behind a paywall. It looks like GameStop probably paid whatever fee it was to get all of their insider information and then wrote an article on the subsequent information provided by the Wall Street Journal. So I'll have a link to the article from GameStop in the description box down below if you would prefer to read it. But basically going over this, we're going to read over it, and then I'm just going to sort of talk about what GameStop's problems are and what this means for the future of GameStop. So the Wall Street Journal reports that at least two companies are bidding for GameStop, and a deal to buy the retailer could become public by the middle of February. Citing a person familiar with GameStop, the Wall Street Journal reported that private equity companies Sycamore Partners and Apollo Global Management are interested in buying GameStop. Both companies declined to comment when approached by the Wall Street Journal, and GameStop itself refused to elaborate on accusation discussions. The Sycamore Partners, which raised a further $4.75 billion in capital last July, specializes in consumer and retail investment, so going after GameStop makes sense. Apollo, meanwhile, is a firm that prides itself of making investments in companies that have fallen out of favor, and this would also cover GameStop in theory. Apollo Equity co-president and lead partner Scott Kleiman says Apollo is looking for investment opportunities that others are unable or willing to figure out. So going by this, a lot of people are now running with this. Oh, GameStop's going out of business. They're going to be out of business by February because they're getting bought out by another company. And I'm just like, where do you get that notion? Like, by that stretch of logic, if you know anything about business, that's not how businesses work. A business would not buy a company that is definitely down on their luck just to buy the company. Like, what are you going to do with GameStop if you're not planning on, sort of trying to reinvigorate this market and figure out what the problems with GameStop are? Now, the problems with GameStop, I think everybody knows about them, but I'm going to talk about them very briefly. One of the main problems has to be just they're sort of like in this tunnel vision when it comes to competition. Look at something like Amazon Prime. Of course, Amazon Prime changed up how they did things, and now instead of just getting discounts right out of the gate on buying new games, you end up getting a certificate for like $10 every so often when you get to a certain dollar amount. And a lot of people, that pissed a lot of people off, myself included. We actually did a video on that. But Amazon Prime actually allows you on most video games to get same-day delivery for free. That's one of the benefits of being in the service. I actually just got New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe today for my Nintendo Switch. I got it off of Amazon. It was delivered to my house today on release date. GameStop doesn't offer anything like that. GameStop has nothing like that. You actually have to pay for release day delivery and pay for shipping if you want it in, a quicker manner than their standard shipping. And I'm just like, why do you still do this? What company that is specializing in video games, where video games are your main bread and butter, would not offer a simple service like this? I feel like people would be inclined to buy more more things from GameStop's online store if this was an option, because it's just so convenient to not have to worry about going out and picking up this game. Yes, of course, there is the other side of that coin with digital distribution. Digital distribution is definitely hurting GameStop's bottom dollar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But digital distribution has been around for quite a while now. Like, this is predating back to the Xbox 360, if you want to look at things, or even going back to computer games. Because you got to remember, GameStop used to sell big box computer games. When I was working at GameStop, they were actually liquidating all of the big box computer games because they were getting away from that market, because that market was shriveling up. And PC gamers are definitely cool with just getting digital stuff, but there's definitely still a market for physical video games when it comes to home consoles. There's still people who prefer to have physical video games. So the fact that they did not see this coming or try to, lower their expectations for game sales and things like that just absolutely blows my mind. It just shows the incompetence in the upper management of GameStop. I don't feel like this is a lower management issue. If you go to your local GameStop store, most people are decently satisfied with going in the store and their experience there, because the lower level people, the people actually working in the stores, they don't worry about those higher up management things. Yes, higher up management is sort of bearing down on you to get, pre-orders and subscriptions to Game Informer or whatever gimmick card they have. But at the end of the day, these people are more than likely just gamers who enjoy gaming and want to work in a field of video games. So all of these problems stem from upper management by not, lowering what, you bring home in your bonus, by not lowering your expectations of what you're going to sell by looking at the digital marketplace. It really hurts you. But I think another huge problem that a lot of people underestimate when it comes to GameStop is, let's be honest, when it comes to used game sales, GameStop is probably king. Like, you go to your Best Buy, there's a very small selection of used stuff. Walmart's, Target's, they tried to get in on it too, but it never really took off for them. That's pretty much GameStop's bread and butter. When you walk into a GameStop, they always push the pre-owned stuff because there's a much higher markup. If you go in and trade your game for $30 and then they sell it for $50 used, there's a $20 profit margin there. So you get a much higher profit margin on the used games than you get on new games. That's why they push the used games so much. And I think everyone should know that by now, but just in case you didn't, there's a little inside information in the world of GameStop. But a big problem is GameStop is absolutely horrible at adjusting their prices to the market value. When you can go on eBay and get a game for $15 cheaper than you could at your local GameStop, most people are probably going to go to eBay to get a used copy of this game instead of GameStop. And like, some games just stay at like $50, $55 for a used copy for a long time. And I've always been of the mindset where if I can make two $30 sales or one $50 sale, what am I going to do? I would rather sell two copies of a game at $30 and make $60 than one copy of a game at $50 and make $50. There's $10 more in there. And I feel like just whoever decides the used game prices, I'm sure there's like a committee of people or something like that. I just feel like they dropped the ball way too much on this aspect of things. But all because a company is coming in and buying GameStop doesn't inherently mean that GameStop will be going out of business. Sure, there could be a downsizing of GameStop, which is something we've talked about a lot on this channel, because let's be honest, there are way too many freaking GameStops in most, areas. Like, they're, in very suburban areas, there could be a GameStop on every street corner. There's like 8 or 9 in Philadelphia itself, and it's just like, why do you have so many GameStops here? Because GameStop bought out everyone else. GameStop bought out Babbage's, GameStop bought out EB Games, so they acquired all of these stores. But going back to things, did GameStop close down all of these EB Games and Babbage's and, Think Geek? Remember, they also got Think Geek and they put them in stores. No, they just rebranded them as their own stores. So GameStop, the name might go away. Maybe this new company, whatever company that ends up winning the bidding war for GameStop, ends up coming in and completely rebranding everything, which might actually not be a bad idea. I just think whatever company comes in needs to have knowledge of the video game industry. I feel like if they could see how the trends are with things like digital games on the rise, to know that you're not going to be making, a $10 billion bonus every year because you're the head honcho of this company while the, store level workers are making peanuts, I think you could really refocus this company, sort of strip away all the gimmicks, sort of strip away everything and be actually about video games. Have your used prices go down, have a lot of incentives for people to want to shop with you as opposed to shopping somewhere on Amazon. Offer same-day shipping or same-day delivery on new release games. If people are buying new release games from you, they might also add in some used games into their cart. They're like, oh, well, I'm getting this game on release day, you know, let me pick up a couple other games. Like, I think simple things like that would definitely increase sales for GameStop. But all because they're being sold doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be going out of business. Is GameStop in trouble? Yeah, but a lot of retailers are. A lot of major retailers just expanded too much in the 90s and 2000s and made too many damn stores, and that's why a lot of them are going under. But if you could sort of ride these trends, if you could see where the trends are going, and if I could sit here and pretty much give you guys some good ideas of what GameStop should do, I feel like these people that are making millions and millions of dollars a year should also have this sort of insight into the video game industry. But it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what happens with this. Is the fallout going to be as catastrophic as some other websites and YouTubers are making it out to be? Definitely not. You probably won't even see any sort of, real impact in the first year of the sale anyways, because these companies are going to sort of have to figure out what they're going to do. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. So let me know in the comments section down below how you feel about this. Do you think that if a company does purchase GameStop, they will just liquidate everything and get rid of them and try to recoup their money and maybe do something with some of the assets that we might not know about or be thinking about? Or do you feel like it'll just be a gradual change that is just coming with any sort of brick and mortar store? Thanks for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next upload. Later.